Several years ago, I was riding the metro when I was contemplating about the evensong service that I had recently attended at St. Paul's K Street. It made me think about how everyone sitting in the pews was all in a way oriented towards Christ. And it made me think about the way that everyone on the Camino, in some way or fashion, is oriented towards Santiago. Everyone is walking in at their own speed, on their own paths, but they're all oriented towards that same destination. And it is at that moment that I realized, you know what, I kind of want to do that. And it was a moment where it was a Holy Spirit poke, as I call it, where it just felt like a call to say, hey, you should do that. We are part of a 1,000-year history of pilgrims who, for whatever reason, for whatever their calling, they had walked those same trails, stayed in those same hostels, experienced the exact same highs, lows, challenges, and spiritual fulfillment. Had a really tough time saying goodbye. I remember all the celebrations walking into Santiago on that last day. There was music in the streets. There was this absolutely massive celebration for an event in town. I remember going out to eat with friends. I remember hugging people in Santiago, despite us being absolutely gross, sweaty, grimy, and hot, dehydrated. But then we had to say goodbye. We had our own obligations in our own small corners of the world that we had to attend to. We couldn't stay in Santiago forever. We couldn't stay on the Camino for as long as we wanted. It reminds me of St. Peter at the Transfiguration, where he says, Lord, it's good that we're here. And he invites the other disciples and Jesus to say, let's stay here. This is a good place. I'll build shelters for us. We can stay up here on this mountaintop. And through all the spiritual highs I've experienced this year, both on the Camino and otherwise, I always think about those moments or those words. Lord, it's good that we are here. But we're not really called to stay on the mountaintops. We're not called to only feel the spiritual highs. We have other work to do. Conversations with St. Paul's folk, I was able to find support from people who understood the sanctity and the holiness of pilgrimage. See, among my non-church, non-religious friends, when I would talk to them about the Camino, they would kind of understand it as perhaps this European version of the Appalachian Trail that has a sprinkling of churchiness, religiosity to it. When that's true for some folks, but for me, there was a deeper, more spiritual purpose. There was a calling, a Holy Spirit poke. On the day when I walked Los Hospitales, which is the most strenuous, steepest, possibly most dangerous trek of the Camino that I did, we were told not to walk alone. We were told to plan ahead on bringing plenty of food, plenty of water, and always being in sight of other pilgrims. I remember traversing the possibly 15 kilometers over those mountaintops, eventually coming down on the other side and arriving in my destination village. And the first thing I see is a hostel with a bunch of people outside, and I immediately hear, "Jonathan!" And I recognize that as Ricardo from Milan, a person who I had met several days prior and was able to befriend while walking the Camino. And walking up to this hostel, I looked around the outside and I could recognize many other people who I had known from over the days, and a few of them turned around, got excited, and they waved to me, and we chatted about what our days have been like, just the mental and physical strain we had experienced while going over this particularly strenuous part of our journey. But we all celebrated that we had arrived safely at our destination, that we were able to reconnect and celebrate the journey that we've experienced and look forward to what was yet to come. And just in a small way, thinking back to that, I like to think that I just got just a small foretaste of what heaven will be like.